Hey there, Bitizens, and welcome to the Killer Bits. My name is Francesca, and today I want to talk to you guys about matchmaking in video games. Now, to start with the basics, matchmaking in video games is a system by which a multiplayer online game looks at the players currently available to play and matches them up into games that are, fair and fun, where players are similarly skilled. Now, it could be like one player versus one player, or it could be like 10 players versus 10 players. But the whole point of matchmaking is to make balanced games that are fair, because people, want to improve and want to get better, and the best way to do that is to beat people of similar skill until eventually you're facing people of harder and harder skill as you improve. Now, to do this, you obviously have to assign a kind of level of skill to a player based on, their games and how well they've played in the past. And this is commonly referred to as ELO or MMR, depending on the community. This vlog is not about that. It's not about how to calculate ELO, how to calculate MMR, how to assign player skill. Like, an algorithm for matchmaking is only ever going to be as good as the estimate for player skill. I'm sure a lot of people have spent a lot of time looking into it. So we're just going to assume that, that actually is fairly indicative and works. What this is about how player base can affect matchmaking. How the number of players concurrently available to play will affect how good your matches are. And I mean, it's obvious that the more people there are available to play, the more balanced the games will be. That's common sense. But how strong is this effect is basically what I want to show you guys. Now, the game that I commonly play that involves matchmaking is a game called Smite. And a lot of people on the Smite Reddit, in the Smite community, on Twitter, on Facebook, in-game, like to complain about matchmaking. They often say, Hi-Rez, fix matchmaking. Hi-Rez, why is matchmaking so broken? Look at this game. Look at how badly the enemy team is compared to my team. Look how bad my team is compared to the enemy team. Your algorithm is shit. Fix it. And I think a lot of people unfairly don't consider player base when they look at this. Yes, algorithms can be bad. Yes, there are fixes that can be made to improve them. However, your algorithm can be perfect, but if you don't have enough players, that's going to kind of take effect. And I'm going to put some numbers on it to kind of show you guys this principle, so you have an idea of just how quickly even having a lot of players can narrow down to a very small number available to play. Now, for Smite, we're going to use some numbers from Steam, because Smite is currently available to play on Steam. And for Smite, the maximum concurrent players for the 16th of December 2015 was 13,292. However, Smite is also available to play through its own client, and those players won't be counted within this number. Smite is fairly new to Steam, and I think more people do play Smite through the client, so we're going to assume that 1/3 of players play Smite through Steam and 2/3 play through the client. This may be completely wrong. There may be far more people on the client. There may be far less people on the client, but I'm pretty sure there's probably more. But either way, this gives us a base number of, concurrently online players playing Smite. So that will times that by 3, and that is approximately 40,000 players. We have rounded up at this point just to make it a bit more of a, round number, and we've rounded up because we're being generous. Let's say there's 40,000 people currently playing Smite. Now, Smite suffers, and I think this is something that costs its matchmaking, but it has 9 different game modes. It has 2 ranked game modes and 7 casual game modes. So the 2 ranked game modes are 1v1 Joust and Conquest, which is the MOBA mode. On top of that, they have casual game modes. They have Casual Conquest, Arena, Clash, Assault, Siege, Match of the Day, and 3v3. And we're going to ignore Match of the Day because Match of the Day changes every day, and I think its population fluctuates a lot just because sometimes it's crap and sometimes it's great. So we're going to just say that there are 8 game modes for the case of argument. And if we assume that there are even numbers of players playing in each game mode, that's not really the case, but if we do that, we're saying that 1 in 8 players is going to be queuing ranked, because this is all about the ranked system, because that's the one that people complain about. So 1 in 8 players are queuing ranked. I don't actually believe this is the case. I think that there may be a few less than that, but I think 1 in 8 is not a bad estimate. So, and it also divides nicely. So 4,000 divided by 8 equals 5,000 people currently playing ranked. Except that Smite has lots of different regions available. You can play on different servers. So you have the North American servers, you have the European servers, and you have the Oceanic servers. However, the Oceanic servers are way smaller than North America and EU, so we're gonna ignore you. I'm sorry, in this situation, Oceania, Australasia, you are irrelevant. And we'll assume equal numbers of people playing on NA and EU. That will fluctuate, during NA friendly times. NA peak times is going to be more North American, but on EU peak times is going to be more EU than NA, but we're just going to 50-50 split it. So we'll say that 2,500 people are currently playing ranked Smite within one region. However, just because these people are playing Smite doesn't mean that they are queuing Smite, because, being in a game surprisingly takes time. You aren't just constantly queuing. If you were, we would just be playing Queue Simulator, everyone would be unhappy. So we'll make an estimate on average game time to kind of guess how many people are queuing. And this is including a pick and ban phase. We're going to say that it's a 30-minute average for a game. I would actually say it's probably a little bit higher than that, but this is a nice round number. And also it is more generous towards the end estimate. So like saying 1 in 8 players play ranked is quite a generous estimate. Saying that 30 minutes for a game is generous because this will lead to, you know, there being more players left over in the end. And that gives us, if we have 2,500 players playing 30-minute games, 83.33 players queuing per minute ranked. So 83.33 players per minute are going into the ranked queue. And at this point, we haven't even considered player skill whatsoever. We've made assumptions on game length, on NAEU split, and on how many people queue ranked, along with how many people actually play Smite, but we haven't even considered player skill, and we only have 83 people going into a ranked queue. Bear in mind, we had 40,000 to begin with. So, let's assume, this is a very bad assumption, let's assume that 1 in 3 people is of similar level of skill. So if I'm queuing, let's assume 1 in 3 other people are of a level to make a balanced game, and that is probably a bad assumption. Like, you actually want your algorithm there to be more strict so that allows for more balanced games, but we're going to say 1 in 3. So with your 83 players, divide that by 3, you get 27.78 players per minute. So that's about enough players to make 3 games per minute. Saying that, you really do want this to be more strict. We've been quite lenient. I would say that 1 in 10 players is maybe a similar skill to me. That's, again, probably generous, but we're saying 1 in 10 players is of a similar skill to yourself, and thus you divide your 83 players by 10, and you get 8.33 players per minute. So at any given minute, by this assumption, with 40,000 people online, there aren't even enough people playing or queuing to make a ranked game. A ranked game requires 10 players. So on top of being generous with our assumptions, we've also basically not considered the fact that there will be people who are logged into Smite who are not playing Smite, who are, you know, waiting for their friends, browsing the store, watching replays, or they just let Smite open. I do that all the freaking time and get loads of PMs, and I'm like, yeah, I left it open and went and had a nap. But so we've ignored idle players. We've also assumed that player skill is like even across the board, which is 100% not true. Player skill is liable to be a bell-shaped curve, so kind of go, you know, up and then down. So like lots of average players in the middle with fewer low skill and fewer high skill, you know, like not everyone is a pro. And obviously the people on these kind of either end of the bell-shaped curve are going to have longer queue times than people in the middle because there's more people in the middle. But this is something we haven't even considered in this. And also the numbers that we have used are for the maximum concurrent people playing Smite at any, you know, any one day, in our case the 16th of December. Like we've taken the maximum number of players, but there's not always this many people playing, you know, and sometimes there are less people. And when there are less people playing, you're gonna get worse matchmaking because there's gonna be fewer people playing. And this is, I hope, shows you guys, like, even if these numbers aren't quite correct, using some very, I think, you know, fair assumptions, how few people are actually queuing based on how many people are playing. 8.33 players per minute queuing out of 40,000 players is a very, very small fraction. And this will have a very big effect on the quality of your matchmaking. And this is something that definitely is going to affect the game. And to give you guys a little bit of contrast, if you consider one of the more popular MOBAs, so Dota, Defense of the Ancients 2, which is also a Steam game. And as it's a Steam game, we have access to how many people are currently playing and how many people are playing at the maximum time. 850,000, over 850,000 people on the 16th of December 2015 are playing Dota 2. That is 21 times as many as we said we're playing Smite. So all else equal, matchmaking will be 21 times better because the pool will be 21 times bigger. So you can kind of see how player base really does have an effect on matchmaking. And I think it's something people fail to consider when they complain about a company not fixing their matchmaking. Maybe it's not necessarily the matchmaking that's the problem. Maybe the matchmaking is actually quite stringent, but as time goes on, gets less stringent because at the end of the day, people don't want to play Queue Simulator. People don't want to queue for long times. I mean, maybe, you know, higher tier players are willing to queue longer to get better games. I'm certainly willing to queue maybe like 6-7 minutes, but after that, it starts to get a bit ridiculous. And I think that the best way to improve matchmaking, especially in ranked, is to encourage more people to play ranked and encourage more people to play the game. So at this point, I think it becomes more of an advertising problem than necessarily an algorithm problem. So it's maybe don't fix ranked so much as advertise, get more people to play your game. Because, I mean, there are a lot of people who probably haven't heard of Smite, or who haven't heard of whatever game it is that you don't like the matchmaking for. And the best way that you can help your matchmaking is to, well, one, queue ranked, and number two, encourage people to play. Because it seems to me what's happened now is people have decided that ranked is bad. And because ranked is bad, we're not going to queue ranked. And because we're not queuing ranked, there are less people queuing ranked. And because there are less people queuing ranked, ranked is getting worse. And it's just this endless cycle of like fuck-up-itude that just makes your ranked games bad. And in Smite, I would definitely say that casual conquest actually has better matchmaking than ranked conquest. And that is definitely down to player base. I don't think one of them has a magically different algorithm from the other to make, you know, the matchmaking in casual conquest wildly better than the matchmaking in ranked conquest. I think it's just down to the number of people queuing at any given moment. And I think this is something that people fail to realize. But I realize this has been a little bit of a kind of matchmaking rant, but I hope you guys kind of see that it's not always as obvious as it may seem. If you found this, you know, interesting, let me know in the comments below whether you agree, whether you disagree, whether you think that I'm completely overlooking, you know, something obvious. I want to know your thoughts on this and whether you think this has been, you know, informative. If you do think it's been informative or interesting or enjoyable or great or fantastic or crap or whatever, you could hit that thumbs up button, guys. This is a great way to help the channel. And if you want to find us on social media, you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/thekillerbits and on Twitter at thekillerbits. Now, as I've been going off on one about Smite, if you want to see me play Smite both casual and ranked, you can do so at twitch.tv/Jaggerus. And if you want to give a little bit back to the Killerbits, you know, to support us in making these kind of videos, you can do so at patreon.com/thekillerbits. And I've been Francesca, and this has been a bit vlog. I know the vlogs are far less regular than they used to be. I used to do one per week, and now I've been putting out other content. Effectively, I got to the point where I felt like I was vlogging for the sake of vlogging. I wasn't enjoying it. I was coming up with stuff to talk about for the sake of recording a vlog, rather than having something like this that I wanted to talk to you guys about because it's interesting. So what we've decided to do is basically tone back the vlogs. They'll probably be happening about once a month. And instead, on Saturdays, we'll be doing, you know, mixed content. So sometimes it'll be a vlog. Previously, I've done, like, first impressions of, for example, RuneScape Chronicles. I checked out Paladins. I did a montage video, like, best bits of when I played Just Cause 3. You should check that video out. I think it's hilarious. But all sorts of mixed stuff in this slot now, and that's making me happier. But beyond this, have a very Merry Christmas. Have a Happy New Year, and I'll see you guys in the future with more video content. Have a great day, and thanks for watching. Bye!